Good evening. Welcome to West Ham Week in Review. It is 16th of February, 2020. Vision I no longer have. That's why I'm wearing glasses now. It's what happens when you get old. Right, Luis? It's what happens when you get old. Exactly.
Just to make you feel better, mate.
I do feel better. You know, when you first get them, and they got these progressive lenses, and it's a little like being drunk all the time. Because you got the, like the bottom's kind of blurry and the top's clear, and then the bottom's clear and the top's blurry. It's a little weird. So I've been saving a lot of money on booze. I just put the glasses on, and I get a buzz from putting the glasses on. It works pretty well. Anyway, so before we start, everybody please check out our website, AmericanHammers.net. Check out all we have to sell there, including our fantastic scarves, which I think you don't have one in the background there, do you? I think Luis has one in the background. Sally has one. Yeah, you guys have them. I don't have one. I should bring one up. Our American Hammers TV scarves. Also, every type of merchandise you could possibly imagine with many, many different West Ham logos, West Ham show logos, American Hammers Network logos, all kinds of stuff, like what Wayne's wearing right there. I actually wore a West Ham shirt tonight for the first time in a long time. This is my Arnautovic shirt. I still wear it. I don't care what anybody says. I still like it. I just like the colors. I like the colors. I like the black and the electric blue. So whatever. I'll put a jacket on. Nobody will see the back. Anyway, so yeah, check that out. Also, if you want to be on the show, if you want to be on the network, let us know, because we'd love to interview you. If you're an American fan, and I know some of you who might be watching have probably been in touch with you already, we'll get you scheduled. If you're an American fan, or if you're not an American fan, if you're anywhere in the world, and you want to be on the show, we do all times of day. We do all days of the week. This is like our fifth show today. We got another one coming up at 10:30 tonight. So let us know. Get through to us on social media. Go to it's American Hammer 3 on Twitter, because I'm bad with Twitter names. American Hammers TV on Facebook. Where else are we? I don't know. I think we're on Instagram. You know where to find us. You can find us, or you can go to the website and get through us there too. So yeah, let us know. Get on the show. We'd love to have you on the show. That'd be really good. Tonight we have a good international crowd. We have Wayne of Wimbledon, a posh gent from Wimbledon who lives in
posh my left testicle.
Oh, I can imagine you on the Wimbledon green, backstroke.
I was a ball boy.
Hit it. Were you really?
Yes, I was, but we won't go into that.
Was this in the days of McEnroe and Borg?
Yes, it was actually. And McEnroe was an excellent tipper.
But he was. I like McEnroe. I bet Borg didn't tip anything.
Borg was a total stiff.
Of course he was. I knew it. Always do it. Anyway, so Wayne's in Dallas. We have my co-host, as always, on Sunday night, a native of Denver, hanging out in Sacramento in the Air Force, Selly. Hey, did you see the game from the Air Force Academy, Selly, the hockey game?
Yeah, Avalanche were in it. It was a frustrating game to watch because we were if the Avalanche had won, they would have gotten to first place in the Western Conference, but they lost to, I believe, was the last place team in the Western Conference, which is crazy because we hadn't played the Kings all year.
Yeah.
And it's our second outdoor game. We've lost both, unfortunately. The first one we played in Coors Field in Denver, home of the Rockies, and we lost to the Detroit Red Wings, which was frustrating. But the cool part was the day before that, they had a Legends game. So you had the old school Avalanche and old school Red Wings playing against each other, and we won that one.
That's cool.
But, yesterday was it was very frustrating to watch. But
Claude Lemieux and Chris Draper in the old school game, or were they not let each other on the ice at the same time?
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch. They played like a full length game almost, but they were all like older guys. So, but there's never any love lost. It'd be like having a Legends game between Millwall and West Ham.
Oh, totally. That rivalry in the 90s was bitter, and in the early 2000s, brutal.
Not as big as the rivalry after the match.
Well, I have always been a little bit of a Kings fan. They're kind of my second favorite team because they used to have a minor league team in Manchester, New Hampshire up here. So
okay,
but both of those sets of sweaters yesterday were tight. I would wear either one.
Yeah. No, I got one. My mom got me one for my birthday, actually. Not my birthday.
Those things
awesome. So it was this is the Avalanche one.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
The right colors.
It's the right colors. Yeah, no, it's just
it's pretty sweet. And I was I don't have a Colorado Rapids kit, but it looks just like a West Ham kit too, with the way maybe not the new one, because the new ones are all from Adidas and they all look kind of trashy and they all look alike. But,
yeah, they do.
They're terrible. They're awful.
But yeah, the ones they had last year were pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I don't like the Colorado Rapids at all. Being an FC Dallas fan.
Right,
We'll talk about MLS a little bit later, but not right now. I want to introduce Luis. Luis, you're in I want to say Sao Paulo, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm Sao Paulo.
Good.
Glad to be back, guys.
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
Hey, which Brazilian club do you support? I can't remember.
It's Corinthians. It's
yeah.
The second biggest club in Brazil. We just got knockouts from Libertadores on Wednesday, so every team I choose to support is fucked up at the moment. So I really don't have anything to cheer about.
Is that like the Brazilian FA Cup?
Yeah. Actually, it's the Champions League.
Yeah.
All Latin America, from not Mexico, but it will be
Central American teams,
but from Mexico until to Brazil. So it's huge. Wow. Our biggest competition, and we got knocked out in the first stages, like before even group stage. So yeah.
Nice.
I have a friend here. Tim knows him. If Tim's watching, Tim is watching. He knows him. A guy named William. He's a big Corinthians guy. We used to help volunteer for a tournament that he ran in Lowell, Mass, and he and his mother-in-law ran. And he's a big Corinthians guy, huge fan. So, yeah, I've always kind of looked out for their results a little bit. Besides, Socrates played for them, and Socrates is one of the coolest footballers ever. Mm-hmm. One of the great human beings to ever play football, as far as I'm concerned. Smart guy. Didn't he die recently, or did I make that up?
It's been 5 years, I think, but he was a very clever guy. He was a doctor. He was he studied medicine, and his brother Hai, he played for the biggest rival of Corinthians. Yeah, São Paulo.
For the green one, Palmeiras, right?
No, São Paulo.
Oh, for São Paulo. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Because Palmeiras is a rival, São Paulo is an enemy. So he played for the enemy.
Gotcha.
And it is as good as Socrates was. But when he died, all Corinthians fan base felt really, really sorry about it, because he was one of the guys that changed Brazilian football at the end of the 80s. So yeah, he was a nice figure. A nice guy to follow.
Great, and not to get too much into it, but he was a great supporter of democracy in Brazil, and
yes.
He was really politically a very important figure, and I was really a big admirer of him. And so, if I had a Brazilian club, it'd probably be Corinthians for that reason. But I don't really obviously watch it very much. Anyway,
I had a question real quick too for Luis. So with Brazil, obviously kind of pumping out world class, football athletes, to all the top divisions of the world. Mm-hmm. Let's say like Neymar, obviously PSG, you have Anderson, back in the day, obviously you had, your Dedas, your Ronaldinhos, your Ronaldos. Do Brazilians kind of follow specific players, or is it like your favorite player goes to a team and you're now a fan of that team kind of thing? I don't know if that question makes sense, but.
Yeah, it makes sense. Actually, Brazilians are really passionate about everything related to football. So our sports per se. I was watching a documentary about Oscar Schmidt. He was the Brazilian basketball player, and he's the top scorer of the history. He has the most score points in all the history of basketball, and Brazilians love him, even though no one watches basketball here. So a player like Neymar or even Felipe. When we have someone with that kind of media coverage, we are passionate about them. Neymar is a little bit different because he feels like he's a Brazilian hero or superstar, but we don't really like him as a person.
Yeah, you know how glad I am to hear that.
No one likes that kind of.
He's a prima donna.
Yes.
Yeah. No one likes that. We like the people that that worked his ass off, that come there, go to Europe or anywhere and do their job. Recently, we had a kicker in NFL called Cairo Santos. He played for the Chiefs, 2 years ago, and we loved him because he went there and out of nowhere he was playing in NFL. But guys like Ronaldinho and Ronaldo, they are the beacons, the players that we look after and see a hero there. But Neymar and those kind of players with more media than playing itself, we don't really support them.
I'm
That's
glad.
fair.
Best player I ever saw live, and go ahead and take another drink because it was when he was at PSG. Yes, was Ronaldinho. I saw Ronaldinho when he played in Paris, and he was absolutely magnificent. He was so
I'm
much.
gonna have to go get a 6-pack. I'll be right back, Lee.
Yes, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get a 6-pack of Jameson. Get 6 bottles of Jameson. You'll be Nigel by the end of the night. Best player I ever saw live, absolutely Ronaldinho. And not that I've seen that many games live at the high level, but anyway, magnificent player.
I saw him playing. I think it was his last year of his career. I was watching Corinthians playing Atlético Mineiro, which was his last club here in Brazil.
Yeah.
He was old, fat, but when the guy had the balls on his feet, it was something different. He could do things that myself in my 20s feet, I wouldn't do anything like that. And he, with almost 40 years old and fat, he was like a magician. He was incredible. He was incredible. We call him Wizard here. His nickname is Wizard.
Fat guys are capable of more than you might imagine, Luis.
I'm fat. I know. I'm fat.
So I guess we should talk about West Ham a little bit.
Nah.
No, why?
Well, it is super depressing. I don't know if I said this before or after we started, but no, I think I said it before we started. But West Ham are in the relegation zone. My poor French club Saint Etienne, they're flirting with relegation now. Even Chelmsford City are in the relegations, or no, they're not yet, but they're headed toward the relegation zone in National League South, and they have a crisis at manager, and they've got all sorts of problems. So it's kind of bad. And my rugby club, Stade Francais in Paris, they're absolutely dead last right now on the table. Although they did win this weekend, so they've got a little bit of hope. But it's a bad
So
scene.
we just basically have to blame all of our troubles on you, Lee. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
All I'm saying is that all
Common denominator.
I have left is the Boston Bruins, and I don't trust them after last season.
Don't blame you.
I don't trust them, so I'm not getting excited. I'm stepping back from them. Anyway, why don't we start with the board the way we always do? As a matter of fact, since we have our partnership now with Knees Up Mother Brown, and if you want to go back, Tim interviewed Graham Howlett from Knees Up Mother Brown earlier today, so that'll be in our archive.
That was a great interview, by the way.
Yeah,
real good guy. Really well knowledge on the team. Obviously, he's been a supporter his whole life, so of course he would be. But that story he had with the interviews with I'm blanking on it. He was interviewing
make people watch. Make people go back and watch.
Oh yeah. So this story is kind of towards the end of the interview, so you actually would have to watch the whole thing. But it's a really cool story that he had. Yeah,
I want to watch it. Today's been a very busy day for me. We've had guests over at the house all day, and I haven't been able to watch anything. We had Cameron on this morning, who wore the GSB out shirt and as the flag bearer at the match. I guess it was the Brighton match, which was like 3 or 4 months ago, last time we played a match. And so he was on this morning, and then we had Graham on it this afternoon. So go back and watch those in the archives if after this, or after Justin's show, which he's going to do a show at 10:30 tonight Eastern time. So after his show, go back and stay up late and watch. Anyway. So here's what we're doing now with Hammers United and the protests. This is from Knees Up Mother Brown. They've got a march going. Last time it was like a static protest. They stood outside the ground. This is going to be a march on Leap Day, February 29th. Who are we even playing that day? Who are we playing that day? I don't even know. So, that's not okay. I thought it was because it'll be Manchester City, Liverpool, and then I think Southampton. Yeah. After that, right? Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to throw this out. I know we ask these questions a lot, but do you guys think these protests are doing any good? Is it helping? Is it hurting? Give me your take on. And I'm a big supporter of what they're doing. I mean, philosophically, I'm bored out along with them, and I personally think that Paul Colburn, even though it's hard to condone a rushing the pitch, I think what he did against Burnley sparked the board to invest in the next window. So what I'm wondering is this good? Is this bad? Do you think this is going to be a net positive for us, or will the board not pay attention, or what do you think the result's going to be, if any? We'll go from bottom to top on the screen. Sully, what do you think?
Well, I think we kind of talked about it earlier today too, but I think it right now with 2,000 people, for that being your first protest, that's great. It's a lot of people. That's obviously no small number. But on the flip side of that, it can also be one of those things where 2,000 people, the board are like, oh, we don't have to worry about it. They can be blissfully ignorant of whatever. Oh, there was a demonstration day. Oh, we didn't hear about it, kind of thing. But the thing now that helps is it's not just them making noise about it. You have West Ham supporter athletes who have the JSB out tag, kind of behind them in interviews, and that boxer, for example, he had that, ringside. And then you have all British press kind of slamming them, especially after what happened with the Sunday service, where it seemed like, oh, you talked bad about us. Shame on you. We want you to publicly apologize. So I think they're feeling it from all fronts now. But I think the results will definitely fuel the fire of that, in terms of, let's say we lose to Liverpool, Man City, whatever, just losses in general, you'll have more people attend these, because it's like, look, if we're ever going to get to the place that you promised us, we're going to have to win these games, or at least, be competitive. If it's a 1-0 like it was last year at Man City, whatever, because it should have been a 0-0 draw anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know. Until we start proving it on the pitch, the protests are going to get bigger and bigger, and the criticism for the board from all angles is going to get bigger and bigger. So I think it's a good first step.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out too, and I can't get my I can't get my window to expand. I have an old computer; it's not even mine. But Hammers United says, we will all come together at various meeting points along the Greenway and stroll peacefully, leisurely, and in good voice along its length toward London Stadium. So, these guys are doing it right. I mean, this is basically civil disobedience, right? This is a way people get things done. It's not meant to be sort of rowdy and out of control. It's meant to be a proper sort of 60s style protest, which I think is the way to do it. I don't know, Luis, what's your take? Going to do any good? Would you, if you were in England on the 29th of February, would you go?
I would. I think that West Ham fans, they are very attached with the promises, with the lies, and everything that surrounds that I don't know, that aura about the board. But the fact is, from 10 years that they are running this club, we didn't improve. We lost our stadium. We have a expensive squad, but without any quality. So it's not about the lies for me, not about the promises, the seats that could have been closer to the pitch, but the fact that the board hasn't done anything really good for the club.
Yeah.
So if you see like, I don't know, Barcelona, in the last 3 seasons, they invested a lot of money, and they are dreadful. They had the Valverde, I think, the manager, and now they have another guy, but they spend a lot of money on Ousmane Dembele and all those players that didn't seem like Barcelona players. So which players that has the West Ham way, I don't know, the West Ham thing in their style of play, or the character of the player itself. They don't have that. So it seems for me that the board doesn't know what they are doing. They are just saying, oh, okay, we are spending money, so you should be happy about this. I'm not happy at all. So I would support that part of the protest. Like, you say you are a businessman, you are a good I don't know, you are Barnes, Karen Brady, you are David Sullivan, a billionaire, but do you really know how to run a business? Because if your business is a football club, you don't. So that's why I should be protesting.
Yeah, not this one. They don't know how to run this one. I mean, David Sullivan could sell porn. I mean, I think almost anybody could do that. David Gold sold, porn accessories. Again, not hard to do. I don't know exactly what Karen Brady did to become a baroness, but on Shark Tank and all that. But this business, they're clearly not running very effectively. How about you, Wayne? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think these things are doing any good? If you were over there, would you go? And maybe you could give us some perspective on how this compares to like the bond scheme, for instance, from the early '90s with Terry Brown.
Well, it's interesting that it doesn't seem to make a blind bit of difference who runs our club or who's in charge of our club. We end up with a shit show.
That is true.
So if anything, it's like, as a lifelong supporter, like surprise, surprise, I'm not. It just seems to be the way it is with us, and I don't know if that's got something to do with the fact that we're an East End club, and you know what, we're a bit shady in the East End anyway. I mean, look at the Cray boys for crying out loud. It's like, it's just the way it is. I think obviously any opportunity that we get to voice our opinion that we don't like what's happening is a good thing. Whether they will listen to us or not until it affects them in the pocket, I doubt it. I sincerely doubt it. However, I think it's a great release for the fans to be able to actually feel like that they're having some say in it, because you can't just sit there and do what we do, sit and moan about it. You have to do something about it. And maybe there's a slight chance that it might raise the awareness of the board to it. Maybe it won't be Gold or Sullivan or Brady, but maybe some of the lesser board members might go, you know what, we've always had a reputation for a family club, and now the families are all turning on us. I don't know. I think, did you guys see the interview with Tony Cotty on Talk Sport a few weeks ago?
I didn't.
I've seen a lot of interviews. I don't remember.
Yeah, he said something which made an awful lot of sense to me, and I think it stems from what a major part of the problem is with West Ham United, and that is, how can you have guys running a football club, when they don't know fuck all about football? They've never played it.
Yeah.
Gold, for all he wants to say, oh, I was brought up in Green Street. Sod off, you stupid dozy old bastard. I mean, that doesn't make a blind bit of difference. I was brought up in Wimbledon. That probably means then that I probably know an awful lot about Wimbledon Football Club. I bloody well don't. I don't.
Yeah, how much do you know about tennis, Wayne? Are you a tennis expert?
I am a tennis expert. Yeah, I'm fantastic at it. But I'm bloody. I can jump in net like the best of them. But it's I would definitely be participating in the protest. Some of the people from my era, I think, would be looking to do more than participate in the protest. When I look at how it went at that match against Burnley, when everybody was throwing the pound coins at them, I said it earlier on today in the chat room when Graham had his interview with Tim and you, Sally, that maybe we need to do a little bit more. And maybe Bubbles had the right idea. Maybe more people need to do a Bubbles. Maybe the half of the bloody stadium needs to just say, you know what? They can't eject every bleeding one of us. Let's all walk out on the pitch. So all walk out on the pitch and sit down on the grass and say, we're not going to move our asses until you move your asses. I don't know. Maybe that's something along the line. But
listen, I think you make a good point. And again, I mean, I think as long as it's, sort of organized and not chaotic and not violent, and it's it's something like what you would have had like a sit-in in the 60s or something, right? I mean,
exactly. Go chain ourselves to the goalpost, for crying out loud.
Right. Well, I think at the very least, and I'm not trying to promote anybody's business here or not promote it, but you could wear a GSB out shirt to the match, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can't ban 60,000 people, I don't think.
Exactly.
Ban
well, I think it's. I mean, if there's any truth in the room with the fact that we're actually going to have a GSB out banner up at in Anfield, I mean, I think that's brilliant if that's going to happen. I mean, I'm thinking about the MLS season starts in a couple of weeks' time. Why don't a bunch of the Dallas Hammers? Why don't we go down there with a GSB out banner and put it up in the beer garden at FC Dallas and get a little bit of publicity this side of it, because I'm sure that would go viral.
Yeah.
American fans decide that they don't like the board either, because we bloody well don't. And
we don't.
And I think I know how Baroness Brady actually got to become a Baroness. I think it was through blowing people, because what she's basically done is she's blown the whole freaking fan base of West Ham over the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, it's
on that somehow. So
and she's just pulled away before we've even had a chance to shoot. I mean, that's basically what it is. She's just the most obnoxious piece of turd that's ever walked the face of the earth.
Well, you saw what happened with. Now, maybe you didn't see this, and I was earlier today. I was looking at this again. The young woman from the supporters board, the teenage girl from the supporters board, who brought up the issue of the mascots having to pay £700 to be mascots for a loser club like West Ham, whereas you can go and do it at Liverpool for free, or a lot of other clubs for free. And she said in the supporters meeting, she opposed that and kind of brought up reasons why she thought that shouldn't be the case. And then Karen Brady just sort of erased her from the record, just like pretended it never happened.
Yeah.
There were minutes of the meeting, and then they just were like they were gone, and any record of her having said that or having mentioned anything just sort of went away.
I think one of the worst things about being a West Ham supporter, and I'm not just talking about for the last 10 years, I'm talking about for maybe the last 20 years, is actually from probably the advent of the Premier League, is that there are so many missed opportunities by our club. I mean, the opportunity to they talk about being a family club. If you're a family club, reach out to the locals and say, okay, we're choosing you. You're going to be a ball boy, and it's not going to cost you a bloody penny. They make no money out of that.
Right.
But they would gain so much in goodwill by doing that. When Graham was talking about the back in the 90s when the old CEO used to give them the old kit so that they could play for the supporters could play in kit, doing things like that, or at least when the social media team tweets something out about time zones in certain parts of the world, that they get that right as well. Because the last time I checked, I think Mexico and Sao Paulo are in the same time zone and not 12 hours apart. Yeah. I mean, just let's get things right. And that, I think if they got things right, we'd have less reason to complain. We would have less reasons to complain, right. But they never get anything right, bless them.
And they're spectacularly tone deaf. I mean, even the opponent boys was tone deaf, and I don't necessarily oppose it. I never really thought he was that bad to begin with, but the appointment was tone deaf because nobody wanted him back, and everybody said we don't want him back. We want a younger, more vibrant manager. We want somebody who's going to inject a little life into the team, and they brought him back. Just like something. Ray Borum said something on our show on Thursday night that has stuck with me. He said every villain thinks they're the hero, and I think the board somehow think that we're still on their side despite all the evidence to the contrary. They somehow think that they're our buddies and that we support them or that we're going to change our minds about them. And I don't know what it's going to take to convince them otherwise.
Well, did you see the tweet by David Gold today?
Which one?
There's a tweet where it names the spends since 2006 of every Premier League club, and there we are, West Ham. We're right in the middle there. I mean, so we must be spending a lot of money.
We're in the top. I mean, yeah. You know what though? I mean, yes, net spend, that's true, but that's net spend. And keep in mind, Spurs sold, Bale for $1 billion, and a lot of other clubs have sold players for massive amounts of money. So the net spend has been lower because they had better players to sell. If you look at wages, and I don't know where it is, Ray sent us a chart with club wages, and if you look at wages, we're down in the second half of the table. We're down like 13th, 14th, I think, in wages, and way behind, obviously, like Manchester City, Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, the really wealthy clubs. So, even though our net spend is higher, it doesn't mean we have better players. But again, it's another example of them being tone deaf, right?
Yeah, completely.
Don't retweet the net spend when we're in the relegation zone and you've done nothing with the money. If anything, I'd be hiding that. I'd be putting that up.
I think there's a couple of things. I have 2 points on this. One, with the whole net spend thing, it's easy to make yourself look and feel good when you're just specifically talking about numbers, right? And I've kind of said it in the past where you could look at an after action or a post game report and see all the stats. West Ham, whatever, 70% of the ball, only missed however many passes, had more corners, whatever. And then you see they lost 3-0. Well, right. Okay. Well, so it's like, what happened? So you can see all the numbers for West Ham's favor still lost. But then when it comes down to net spend, it's all down to the product on the field, right? So perfect example for that, when you brought up Tottenham. Tottenham had 0 players come in the same year they went to, the Champions League final? Yeah. And brought nobody in, and they weren't on a ban or nothing. They had 0 people come in that they even went out and bought and still went to the Champions League final. Which, you think about it, it's kind of crazy, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to, players wanting it, the quality on the pitch. You can say, oh, we brought in, 100 million pound worth of players this past summer. Okay, well, what has that gotten us? Our talisman, who people were saying, no, it could be a 15, 20 goal, this year striker, 6, right? Pablo Fornals took forever to come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're stuck at playing a one striker up top system when the whole season's been begging for 2. I know he's had a couple of games where he scored twice, but a one striker system is good when your one striker is like Harry Kane or Jamie Vardy or whoever. Not saying Sebastian Haller is terrible, but he hasn't proven anybody to the opposite of that this season either.
Exactly. Just to add to that, and if you see Haller's stats, he has won the most aerial duels.
Mhm.
So numbers, if you just look to the numbers, without any analysis of the surroundings, okay, he won the most duels, but he didn't score more goals. He didn't set up any goals. I don't know. When you look just to the numbers, as you said, if you have Harry Kane, if you have Vardy, or a striker that really scored goals, it's different if you just analyze Haller or anyone in the team just for the numbers. Lanzini might, I don't know, have 30% more passes for inside a game, but if they are sideways passes, that doesn't count. So if you look just at the numbers, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, and kind of saying the same note of what you were saying earlier with Barcelona, this year it hasn't been a year that the fans are happy with by any means. But if you take their season and compare it to our season, I would love to have theirs, because their season not being up to their standings means that they're 1 point out of first place right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that means. And we're 1 point inside of relegation. So it's crazy to think that, they didn't bring in the quality players, this and that, but they're still second. Granted, I know their division of soccer isn't as good as the Premier League, but I mean it's just the players gotta want it too. And kind of what you were saying about the media team, Wayne. We're sitting here losing however many games back to back to back, sitting here lowering the table from 10, 15 relegation. And we're going to put out a picture of our most injured player, one of our most expensive, popping out of
Happy bloody birthday.
Right, happy birthday. Cool. Just send out a tweet. Happy birthday, Declan Rice. Neat. Nobody care. Even if we were winning, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Wilshere at all.
I don't want. Yeah, I honestly forget that he's on the team until we do some little video about it.
That's my biggest disappointment of the last couple of years is Wilshere, because I mean I've seen him play and he's played incredibly well, and I was one of the people that said he's worth a gamble, but obviously not now. See, I have probably an unpopular opinion that what we've really got as a problem, an underlying problem at our club, is a problem of culture and lack of it. And I'm wondering if it's something to do with the fact that, quite frankly, I think the culture of the East End has gone through a massive transformation in the last 20, 30 years. Yeah. And I think anybody that lives there and walks the streets round back where the Boleyn used to be will see that the culture of the East End has changed drastically. Now, I'm not saying that it's the fault of all of the immigrants that have come in. No, I'm not saying that at all, because the East End's always been about accepting of immigrants. It's not that. But it's the fact that we've lost our identity. And I think that to get really on the right track, you need, number one, you need a board that recognizes that and is willing to say, okay, we fucked up. We've missed one major thing, and that is that we have not addressed the culture of West Ham United. Because if you ask most supporters, what does West Ham mean to you? And people will say, it was the West Ham way. Well, what is the bloody West Ham way these days? The West Ham way for me is struggling and losing and throwing pieces of jigsaw puzzle from 5 different boxes together and hoping that somehow they fit and do something. We need a director of football, and we need a director of football that's given power to make the decisions on the team, not a director of football that's the best mate of some dodgy old Chilean fuck that's got a friend that's out of a job and wants to help him out. That's what we need. We need a director of football that can do that can guide the team, that can plan out the future for West Ham United, that can say, okay, these next couple of years we're going to go into a slump and we're going to be building, but we're going to be building towards the eventuality. I mean, to do something that Jurgen Klopp has done at Liverpool. You know, that to have a vision of what this team needs to be.
It's
And we're
constant.
not going to get that until they recognize the importance of the culture of West Ham United and figuring out what the hell that culture is. Because right now, all it is a culture of losing and moaning.
And they let the academy wither, Wayne. And I know we've got some players coming through it now, but they let it wither after the class of Rio and Joe Cole and some of those guys.
They sure did.
They let it almost die, and you can see it now because now it's constant desperation. It's go out and find a big name manager who's ready to retire. It's go out and overpay for mediocre players like Carlos Sanchez, for instance. Go out and take somebody who performed well in the World Cup, who made a name for himself. Go out and make a panic buy, get him in. Sanchez again, whereas I'm talking about there. It's constant desperation. It's never we're going to build from a base. We're going to build from the youth, or it's always desperation move after desperation move with managers, with players, with everything. And as you said, I don't think that was ever the West Ham way. West Ham have gone up and down over the years. We know that it's been an elevator club to some extent. But I mean, there was always a base with the youth that we built from, and it usually eventually it came good for us, right? And if we went down, we came back up with young players and with players who came through the club. And then we sold them. but
that's the game of football. It's like I have no problem with selling Declan Rice if we invest it correctly. But these shysters, I couldn't trust them to invest it correctly.
That's why I'm against selling him, is because they're going to blow the money. They can get $90 million for him, and they're going to spend it on nothing. I agree completely. It's desperation move after desperation move, and there's no vision. There's no plan. There's no way to say. The old Dallas Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson always said, I always either want to be on the top or on the bottom. He said, everybody wants to be at the top, but if I'm not at the top, I want to be at the bottom so I can do whatever I want. Nobody questions it.
I like going sideways.
Well, but his point was, if you're in the middle, it's hard to know what to do. You wholesale changes, you keep what you have. If you're just bottoming out, you can do whatever you want and just say, look, we're desperate. So we're going to make all the changes we feel like making, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but there's no pressure. And I think what we have is a struggle to stay sort of in the middle and to stay in the Premier League. And what it ends up being is just desperation buys that don't work out because they're not, as you said, there's no plan. There's no plan, and there's no consistency. And, it's bring another manager in for another 6 months, bring another manager in for a year and a half. You never get any sort of style of play going. You never get any consistency going. So, I think you're right. If you guys don't mind, let's do a Hammers poll or two. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
Well,
right.
I'll say one thing too, as you get that set up. I think, what you were saying about the academy, granted it did kind of die down, but I feel like now would kind of be the perfect kind of resurgence of that, because you have, you have Holland, Coventry, Ben Johnson's played, Diangana. Ngakia, we saw what he could do. Now you have Xande Silva. Granted, you're not going to play them all right away, but more so, we had all these injuries, and we're okay, well, we need to go and buy somebody. Well, we might have that somebody that's sitting here. We just have to give them a chance. Sure. I know it's kind of one of those, knee-jerk reactions to where, we can't always just start youth, and I get that. But, if it's not during a window period, like now, if somebody goes down, we're kind of almost forced to do that unless you're going to, let's put Masuaku in the back or Antonio again. No, see what happens, because at this point, if we do go down, those kids that you don't want to start now are going to start later because we're going to have to sell everybody because, you're not going to get people like that are, I'm not playing the championship, and we can't stop them from leaving.
I think, Sally, and we've been talking about that for a while, and you and I have been talking about it, I know, on here on Sunday nights. I mean, now is as I have always said, we should be cautious about the youth saving us. But it's not even about them saving us. It's about giving them a chance to play now because our senior players obviously are not putting out full effort in most cases. The youth players are going to fight for their jobs. They're going to fight for the badge. They're going to show some pride and some passion. And if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. The senior players aren't good enough. We're in the relegation zone as it is. Put them out there. If we go down, at least they've played 6, 8, 10 Premier League matches, and they'll be much better prepared for the championship than they will be if they sit around, playing in PL2 Division 2 all season.
I'm going to beg to disagree with you on that, Lee, because I think a young player who shows a lot of passion and a lot of promise. Let's face it, we've all been young at one time, and that's when your ego is at its most fragile. And I think you have to be ever so careful saying, let's just give them a chance, because let's be honest here, West Ham fans aren't very forgiving.
No,
we aren't very. Look at the way we treated Frank Lampard coming up, and we treated him like a piece of crap. The reason why we sold Frank Lampard is because the fans hated him,
and he made us pay over and over again.
Yeah, and he made us pay for it over and over again.
About 20 years.
So you have to be very, very careful. I mean, we got some good people. I mean, I thought I was really happy to see when young Kai Corbett came back from Manchester United's academy and said, "No, I'm going to stay with West Ham." I had the pleasure of seeing him play in the Generation Adidas Cup at the Dallas Cup last year. And this is a kid that's got great skills, great talent, and I'm sure he's going to hate it for me saying this, but at the end of the quarterfinal match when West Ham got beaten by Seattle, he stood out there on the field and he cried. He was so hurt. And he was upset because he felt like he had to do something for his team. That's the sort of passion that you want in a team, but it's also the sort of passion that if you push that kid a little bit too fast, too soon, it would crush him. And I want to see him build up some more inner strength and some more abilities, and to have and to realize that you have to lose sometimes to build. It's not about the games that you win; it's about the games that you lose and how you handle those losses. That's what builds a champion.
And I agree with that too. I think kind of on that same note, but on the other side of that coin, you know, you can't necessarily call yourself the Academy of Football if you don't try, right? Or if you don't let the academy play. And to your point of egos, you know, let's say one of the kids goes out there, has a bad, game, maybe two, they could be crushed, or maybe, and obviously it's a big maybe, they could be that kind of person like, okay, I got to fix what I'm doing wrong because they brought me up here for a reason. And if I'm not doing that, then what am I, doing here? And I think too, if you have a youth player come up and they're playing better than the person who is, getting paid $100K a week, that $100K a week player has to look at themselves and say, okay, well, what am I doing wrong that this, 20, however year old person is up here taking my spot? Because at the end of the day, you can't lie to yourself when you're looking yourself in the mirror saying, well, what am I doing wrong that this kid is coming up and playing better than me, getting an opportunity, because we've all heard stories of somebody getting hurt. The next man up comes in and plays better, and then that's now their position. That's their spot, So, I mean, there's obviously a bunch of ways you can look at it. I definitely agree with you, Wayne, in saying that you can't put all your hopes and dreams into one person. But at the same time, you have that youthful, bliss to where like, okay, the team's crap, but, I haven't been crap with this team. So maybe I can be what turns it around.
And I would say, Sally, I agree with you. Wayne, I understand what you're saying completely. The only other thought I have is, the prospect of relegation is very real right now. It's very real. And if we go down, a lot of our senior players are going to leave. We know that, most of them. So you're going to have to turn to the academy players. There's not going to be much choice. That's who's going to be there. So I understand what you mean about they have big egos because they're young. There's high expectations. There's always the risk that there'll be a situation like Grady Diangana where we put him in and the fans got to say he's not good enough. So we have to loan him out, and he's sort of getting his experience somewhere else because he didn't quite make it the first time. But
do you remember who Lee? Do you remember who in the academy played for West Ham during the year that we spent in the championship?
Oh, I don't remember. Do you?
There was none.
I mean, I don't know.
There was none.
Well, but wait a minute.
Because the truth is that when you step up to senior football,
yeah,
you have to have tough skin.
Let me just say this, though. That was at a time when the academy was at its worst that it had been in many years. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why there weren't any academy players that season, 2011-12, I think it was, is because we just hadn't produced any. And the club had really let the academy slip, I think, investment-wise. I think the academy's in better shape than it was 10 years ago. So I think that's one of the reasons. But yes, I understand what you mean. But, we put Ben Johnson in against Manchester City. He did fine in that game. And Ngakia, I thought, was fine against Liverpool. I mean, again,
he was far from fine. He survived. Bless him.
He wasn't the reason that they lost. To put it that way.
Definitely not. I mean, he made some major cock-ups of being the wrong side of an attacker. But other than that, he did a good job.
but he wasn't the reason they lost, and I think that's
No.
important. And again, I feel as though the academy's better than it was 10 years ago, and also I think we're going to have to turn to some of these guys, and I think it makes sense to turn to some of them.
Yeah, and even if they are playing in the PO2 or whatever, at least they're tearing it up in PO2. Xande Silva, who there's questions about, came back and he scored. What does that do for your confidence? You've been out for how long? You come back and get one in.
Listen, we should talk about that because that's our question we've had up on the screen here for a couple minutes.
I'm running away with it, mate. Nigel's coming back.
No, a good conversation is great. Don't get me wrong. You guys keep talking. I don't want to break it up. Since we're talking about Xande Silva, we have the question here. He came back from nightmare injury, played in the PL2 last week, scored. If he's fit, would you rather have him as a backup, or would you rather have a Jetty, who we brought in to be a backup? I think the question is, does he? First of all, does he make the bench? And secondly, do you give him a run out? But I think let's start with do you put him in instead of a Jetty on the bench, and give him the opportunity at least to train with the first team, and maybe send a message to Ajeti. I don't know if you want to do that or not. What do you guys think? We'll do bottom up again. What do you think, Sally?
I'll go last because I answered this earlier, so we can start with Luis, and I'll go after Wayne.
All right, Luis, let's start with you. You've been quiet for a while. I apologize. Let's start with you.
No problem. I think that if we are going to have a player like Ajeti, we shouldn't have sold Ashley Fletcher in the first place. I think Ajeti doesn't bring anything for us. He's the kind of player that, like Hatsabanovic and all those players that come and we don't know anything about them. And at the end of the day, we don't know anything about them because they are not any good. So I'll give Xande Silva a go and see what he can do, because you were discussing the academy, the grit that those players have, and I think this guy specifically he has that on him because he had the health problems, operations, blah blah blah. He should be very excited to go and prove he can do what he's asking. So I don't know. I would give Xande Silva a go, but for me the problem lies with the fact that we sold Chicharito and Lucas Perez and bought a Jetty in, and we don't know anything about him, and he doesn't show anything for us. So we are once again in a relegation scrap and needing to trust and give a go to a youngster again. So I don't know. For me it's a structural problem, not the fact that Ajeti is good enough or no, and that Xande is coming on or no.
Should have held on to Chicharito.
He wanted to go. Chicharito wanted to go.
Well, of course he did, and I understand why he did, and I get that, and maybe it's the best thing that we let him go. But I wish we had built a system that would have accommodated him, and I think with Allaire he would have actually been a pretty good duo. I think if we had Arnautovic and Allaire would be deadly, but that's
But Lucas Perez, we sold him for I don't know, 2 million,
3 million.
Yes,
3 million.
3 million.
And every time he went in, he scored goals. So
Yeah.
just leave him in there. He was a good backup.
He was, and we gave him away for nothing, and now he's getting looks from Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken. That's crazy. It's like Javier Mascherano came to West Ham and couldn't get the team.
Yeah.
The Tevez season wasn't good enough to get the team. So Lucas Perez is kind of the same way. We dumped him for nothing. All of a sudden, he's headed to potentially, maybe, eventually one of the biggest clubs.
But remember what I said about Barcelona in the beginning of the show.
No, I know. I was thinking about that.
They are not spending wisely at all. So.
They're not spending wisely at all. But they could probably get him pretty cheaply. And he has done. I think he's still got a good scoring record in Spain this season for Alaves, isn't it? I think he's
Alaves.
One of the Basque teams. Anyway, Wayne, what do you think, Xande Silva? In for Ajeti, or do you think it's too much for him at this point?
I got to be honest. I don't know an awful lot about Xande Silva. I mean, I've not really watched him play other than the what was it? The one time he came on last season for us in the second half, and didn't really impress me at that particular moment in time. Right. I feel like we're sort of between a rock and a hard place with the both of them. Ajeti, I mean, he's an international player. He should have something in his tank. But right now, you got to think about who's the hungrier, not who's got the most talent. Who's the hungrier of the two of them? Because that's what you need when you're in a relegation scrap. You need somebody that's hungry, wants it, and is willing to do damn well anything to get it. I don't know that I see that in Ajeti. I don't know that I see it in Ajeti.
I don't see most of our players. Period.
Yeah. I think it's something that's severely lacking, which is why that this position is concerning, to say the least.
But I don't see it there. I don't see. I mean, I see it only.
But I don't know that Silver's got it. I don't know that Silver's got it.
That's
You know,
true.
so it's
Right.
yeah. So that's why I said it's. To me, I'd be like, okay, it's a game day. Flip a coin. I mean, that's really the way I feel about it. I don't know. I just hope to God that that Jared Bowen proves to be bloody fantastic, that Antonio stays healthy, that Snodgrass gets an itchy arse and can move a little bit faster, that Noble finds a little bit of his youth from his 20s, and that Declan Rice somehow manages to bang some of those long balls in that actually go on target. I mean, I'm hoping. I'm doing a lot of hoping these days, mate. I really do.
And I, today after, it's so hard and so difficult to want Spurs to win, but today after Son scored that goal,
it was hard to celebrate a Spurs goal.
I didn't watch it. I'm happy they won.
But that's gigantic for us. You guys know that. That's massive.
Yeah.
They celebrated that. Our relegation rivals have to lose those games,
Mm-hmm.
They have to lose to Tottenham because they're going to beat each other. They're going to beat the clubs at the bottom of the table potentially. I think we really need something out of Wednesday's game. I don't think we'll get it, but I think we really, really need it. Let's do maybe one more, and then we'll be pretty close to time. So speaking of injured players, Felipe Anderson might be back, could be back. I think he's supposed to be back for sure for Liverpool, but if he's back on Wednesday, do you throw him in and start him, or do you put him on the bench and bring him in later on if we need him? And if you start him, who are you taking out? Wayne, why don't we go top down this time?
Easy question for me. If he's capable, put him in and bench Lanzini.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. And even if he's not capable, just bench fucking Lanzini. I'd rather play with 10 men on the field rather than play Lanzini these days.
I think Lanzini is a cancer for us right now.
And here's the thing with Lanzini. I've never bought into our little diamond bullshit.
I know you haven't. I know.
I've never bought into that. I always felt like, he shone a little bit when Payet played for us because everybody was going for Payet, so he looked like he had a lot of movement in the midfield. But when Payet left us, he maybe had 3 or 4 games where he stepped up and did some good stuff for us, but he never shone for me like a diamond. He never did. I don't think he warranted the pay raise and the new contract extension he got last time. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. Happy birthday, Manu, but I hope you leave us.
Well, he was surrogate Payet. When Payet left, it ripped a hole in the club, which we've never totally healed, in my opinion. When Payet left, Lanzini was the next man up. He was supposed to step in and be the new Payet, and he just wasn't. He wasn't good enough. He wasn't. He didn't have the same flair. He didn't have the same creativity. He didn't have the same physical talent, and he got hurt. And I'm with you. I mean, he's had some good moments, but I never thought of him as being brilliant after that season, that Payet season. Luis, what do you think? You put your countryman in if he's fit on Wednesday?
Definitely. I think we need his pace, and we need his his flair. But the fact is, we need Lanzini off. It's the first thing that we need is Lanzini off.
Yeah.
And I know that Snodgrass is being our most consistent player, but I would bench him and start Bowen as well because we need something different. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, Felipe can give us something different. I think I seen Bowen playing, I don't know, 30 minutes in championship, but I think he's a different quality than Snodgrass. So I would start Felipe and Bowen and change all our wings.
How about Souček? Would you get Souček in there too? I thought he was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
he's tall. He's physical. I think Souček. It's the kind of player we needed. I watched Sunderberg playing for Sheffield. He was the kind of player we needed because he's so tall, so imposing. But I think Souček would be a good fit for us in this, 15 games left. 12 games left.
If you're going to bring a player in, if you're going to buy a player for a relegation scrap, you might as well play him.
Yeah.
I mean, Souček, Bowen,
Just throw him, yeah?
get him in the starting 11, right? I mean, why else are they there?
I'd rather see Fat Boy Nolan on the pitch right now rather than Lanzini.
Well, I mean, Nolan.
Have a pair of boots on and get Nolan back out there.
I'd like to see Nolan on the touchline as our manager. I wouldn't mind that at all. Either Nolan or Scott Parker. But,
careful what you wish for.
well, I mean, okay.
And just about Felipe, I spoke with his brother. I think it was on Wednesday or last Tuesday. I think he's fit. So I think he's fit. Only if the club sees something in the pre-match tests of his current status, but I think he will be fit.
He has got an opportunity. I'm sorry, Leo, but I want to say here, he has got an opportunity right now to step up and be the Tevez of this season. Yeah. He has that opportunity. I mean, the fact that he went out there and he's been training instead of going on holiday.
Yep.
Okay. The fact that he has that talent, if he could just force into tackles instead of pulling out of them all the time, he has the opportunity to set himself up as a bit of a superstar with West Ham United and be a very beloved player. And I know that he said that he wanted that when he came on board. Yep. This is his opportunity to be that player or to fade into insignificance.
I absolutely. He's got the talent. He has the talent. He's probably our best player on his best day. I think he and Antonio on the pitch together, Antonio with his talismanic abilities and Felipe with his talent, could be a very potent combination. Sally, I think you know the question. I don't have to keep it up. What's your take on Felipe this next game?
Oh yeah, no, I'm starting him 100%. If you can get 90 minutes out of him, perfect. If not, if you don't start for now, then you bring him in for them. But yeah, I think it'll be real fun to see him and Bowen go in, just because, just by transplant, with via transfer, Bowen is our highest scoring player now. So
that's true.
It's pretty crazy to think, somebody who hasn't played a game with us is now our highest leading scorer.
Right.
But no, it's before the game, I would take Felipe into a room and show him highlights of his campaign last year. Like, look, bring this for the rest of the season, because just like you said, like 2 years ago, you were the guy. You were our highest paid transfer ever, and at the beginning of last season, you didn't look like it. Towards the end, you were the guy. And same thing with Haller. Those two need to be the ones. Like, you have 80 million plus between the two of you. Show us why we spent that much, whether it's good investment or not, whatever. I think for both players, there was genuine excitement when we brought them both in, and now they kind of need to repay that, and you got to have your best players in for this fight. There really can't be we can't do it because he might. No, put him in. I mean, we've had Antonio's been hurt hundreds of times, and he still comes in right after. Not that I'm going to sit here and say, drive him into the dirt, but at this point, you kind of need to. Like, you're getting paid all this money.
Yeah.
Show us what these wages are for. Especially, Felipe was on his Instagram or something, had like 4 pictures of him training and 2 of him or him on the beach. So, get off the beach, get on the pitch, and earn your pay.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I would start him if he's fit, because I think we need a shot in the arm, to put it nicely, put it in a family phrasing. I mean, I think again, anybody we can bring in who hasn't been part of this malaise that we've had here in the last few weeks, I think is going to be positive for us. So Souček, Bowen, Antonio was very feisty against Brighton until he got substituted. Felipe, if he's healthy, I mean, get those guys in there,
Yeah.
And sit some of these guys who look listless and bored.
I don't want to see Noble start against Liverpool or City. And it's nothing personal. He's just slow.
No, he's tired. He's worn out. He said he was worn out. He didn't want to play against West Brom in the FA Cup game a few weeks ago. He said, you shouldn't be relying on me. I'm 32 years old. You shouldn't be relying on me in games like this. He's never said anything like that before. It's the first time he's ever, to my memory.
Tired.
He's tired. He's worn out. He's getting toward the end of his career. We know he's not a 38 game per season player. We know he's good for 15, 16 at the most. And even then, maybe not even 90 minutes. Don't start him. I mean, start him in London derbies, because he loves the London derbies. You know what I mean? Put him in against Palace.
if we do get relegated, does he retire?
No, I don't think so.
I think
I think he'll try. I think he'll try to bring us back.
I do too. I
think he'd bring us back and he'd quit the year after.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I think he would too.
Yeah.
I agree.
He'd be like, I've done my bit.
I don't think he would leave with us down. I don't think he would do that to us.
Yeah.
No, I think he'd play for us and be a Kevin Nolan type mentor to the younger players, and and probably play well in the championship, because honestly, that's kind of sort of where his level is right now, at least week by week. You know what I mean? He's still capable of putting together good matches in the Premier League, but he's not a consistent Premier League player. He's too old, and he's getting worn down. I think we've got to get, as you said, our best, our fastest, our strongest players out there, and the guys who are either returning from injury or have just come into the club and don't have that attitude, that Sebastian Aller attitude of moping around out there for 90 minutes or 75 minutes or whatever. So we don't have a whole lot of time left. I want to remind everybody at 10:30 at Eastern time, that's in about 26 minutes, Justin is going to come on with a Manchester City fan, and he's going to do, what do we call the show?
Fixture preview. Focus, yeah.
I'm really bad with the names. He's going to do Fixture Focus with a Man City fan at 10:30. So you guys stay up for that. I have no idea if this person is from Manchester or is a glory hunter from the U.S. I don't know. If it's somebody,
repeat the crap, whatever it is, because they support Manchester.
Well, I mean, if it's somebody from Manchester, we'll have to provide subtitles somehow. I don't know. Nobody knows what the guy's going to be saying. But anyway, I don't know who it is. But anyway, he's in Indianapolis. That's all I know. So Justin will be talking to him from Chicago. So hang on for that. While we take the last 5 or 10 minutes here, why don't we do our dumb thing we do every week, where we predict who's going to win the match on Wednesday. Dumb because we don't know the starting 11. Ours or theirs, either one. We don't know who's healthy. There's lots of stuff we don't know. But, that's why we're fans, and that's why we do this. That's why we have fun. So Manchester City banned from Champions League the next 2 seasons after this season. I'm sure they'll appeal that, and that'll be reduced. But I'm thinking probably at least banned next season.
Yeah.
And so they are really going to want to win Champions League this season. Like if it was already a priority because they're out of the Premier League race. We all know that. So they're really going to want to win it this season. So I'm thinking maybe on Wednesday, maybe they do what Chelsea did back in November, whenever that was, October, and put kind of a second 11 out there and give us a shot. You know what I mean? Give us a shot. With that in mind, with some of the players we might have returning, with Bowen probably in the starting 11, with Souček, possibly with Felipe, either on the bench or starting. Maybe Lanzini doesn't play. Maybe Noble doesn't play. Do we have a shot? And what do you guys think is going to happen on Wednesday afternoon / evening? Luis, why don't we start with you?
After all you said, with their focus shift to Champions League, I think we're just gonna lose 4-0. No, just kidding. They are not the threat they were last season. Definitely not. We are playing Manchester. I think we can nick a win. I think we can nick a 1-0 or something like that. But I'm going for a draw. I think it's going to be a very, very hard game and hard to watch as well. I think it's going to be unpleasant to see. I'm going for a draw.
I think it's going to be unpleasant because I don't think David Moyes will. I think David Moyes will come up with a defensive formation, maybe 5 at the back, definitely just 1 up front. It's going to keep us from really attacking. Anyway, Sally, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if this would be the game where they don't, or where they sit people, because they play Leicester, 3 days after us. So that would probably be the game where they end their traveling to Leicester.
Yeah.
Especially with the time that we've had off with like 10 or some odd days, even though we kind of have a shorter winter break, whatever. There's no reason for them to not come at us full strength. But I do agree with Luis. I would say like a 2-2 draw. Maybe our goals come from set pieces, or maybe like a 3-2 loss. Sterling, getting one, of course. But yeah, 70-30 possession in favor of City. So we have to take opportunity of our chances, which is why I think you have to start your best players as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I'm hoping, Sally, you make a good point about Leicester, but what I'm hoping is that they're going to look at Leicester and say that's a much tougher match than West Ham at home. and that maybe if they want to get away with a weakened starting 11, that we're the opportunity to do that as opposed to Leicester. It may not matter. We'll see. Wayne, what's your take?
Well, you know what? Yeah, they should be concentrating on the Champions League. They're going to want to win that. Sterling's going to be back fit, and he's a handful. And our defense hasn't been playing fantastic. I think he'll have a field day with them. And we're playing up in Manchester, aren't we? So I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say West Ham win 1-0. Fuck you, Manchester.
I think
with my heart, baby, with the heart. Always thinking with the heart. Screw the head. It's done nothing about keeping the hair on it. Screw it. Thinking with the heart. 1-0 West Ham. Katie
is not optimistic. Katie, our friend,
Katie's just a realist, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, Lucas is optimistic, and I listen. I mean, this is you really can't, other than Liverpool on Saturday, Sunday, the next match after Manchester City, away to Anfield. You really can't get a tougher situation than this, where we desperately need 3 points, and we're going into probably one of the second toughest situation we can go into, and then after that we go into the worst, right? We go into Liverpool after that. So
yeah, the only thing with that too is Liverpool does play Champions League on Tuesday, and I think they're in Spain against Atletico. So
and then Norwich held them today for a long time. Norwich held them to, it was a 1-0 game today, but I think Liverpool scored in the 78th minute. Norwich played well. I mean, they were not bad at all. So we'll see. But I think this is a test of character for our team. I don't think we have the talent to win if Manchester City put on a full strength side. So I'm going to hope that they don't. I'm with Luis. I think I'm going to go for a draw, and I think I'm going to go for 1-1 because we never score more than a goal in a game, and if we do, we don't win that game, like against Brighton. I think Fabianski will have the opportunity to be exceptional, and we'll take it. I think that we'll play a very defensive style, which will not keep a clean sheet because we're not going to do that against Manchester City. But I'm hoping that we manage to get a goal from somebody like Bowen or Souček or somebody who's just come into the side. Get a new player in there. I'm here we go. Same here. I'm going with an optimistic 1-1, and I'm usually wrong about this stuff because we always lose. I always say we're going to win or draw, and we always lose. Even a point here is just gigantic for us, right?
Yeah.
Because it could pull us. Does it pull us out of the bottom three? Or I think it does, actually.
Right now, depending on other results.
Depending on other results. On goal differential, it could pull us out of the bottom three. Charlie is also optimistic. I mean, this is the most likely result, right?
Would he be more optimistic if Hugo was coming back?
If Hugo was coming back, he'd pick us to win 6-0. No, I know that. Listen, I know.
I'm gonna do a Mary Catherine Gallagher for you here, Lee. Okay, and I'd like to best express. I think this can best be expressed in a musical number that my partner on my podcast, actually, Adam Frankel, taught to me last week, and that is: "There's a starman playing on the right. His name is Jared Bonin, and he's fucking dynamite. There's a starman playing on the right. His name is Jared Bowen, and he's fucking dynamite. He's dynamite." So I'll call it his first goal for West Ham against Manchester City. Screw the Manc bastards.
I know we're gonna lose. I understand we're gonna lose. It's gonna be 3-0. But listen, I have to believe that we can pass a test of character for once, right? Pass a test of character for once, and at least get a draw out of this. Go into Liverpool with a little momentum, and maybe we nick a draw there too. They've only drawn one match all season. They've won all the rest of their games. It's astonishing. It's like nothing. Yeah.
I mean, they've got to be the most lucky team in the history.
Oh, of course they are. They are legitimately good, right? They are.
They're fantastic, but
they're also lucky. That's the frustrating thing. Is
they're probably more lucky than. Well, I'm not going to say they're more lucky than good, but
they're equally both.
They have that conversation.
That's what drives you crazy. Is they're great, but they're
Yeah.
also lucky. Like it's not fair to be lucky and good. You're supposed to.
Like it's justifiable. Like if we were like that, it was like no, we're definitely more lucky than good. But yeah, they're justifiably lucky. It's just crazy.
We've got plenty of luck at West Ham. It's just all fucking bad.
It's just bad. I have to believe that we pass the test of character. I do. I think we pass the test of character on Wednesday. I think things break our way for once. I think that stupid Tottenham goal today that knocked Villa back is a sign of things to come. Things are going to break our way. Results are going to break our way. We're going to get a point. We're going to pull ourselves out of the bottom three.
Yeah.
And this is going
to be motivated too. Got his debut snubbed by the rain.
What's that?
Said Bowen's going to be motivated too because he got his debut snubbed by the rain.
He did. He got his debut wiped out by rain, just like the Daytona 500 today was wiped out by rain. Rain here later.
I thought it was wiped out by Trump being there.
I'm not talking politics. You know that. Although it's kind of hilarious that he shows up and then the whole thing gets rained out.
Yeah.
It was a huge crowd at Daytona 500. A huge crowd.
It's a little funny.
Everybody's there. It didn't rain. I walked out there out of the stand and the sun came out. It didn't rain.
I'm not the biggest NASCAR fan, but my boys like it and they wanted to watch it and they were kind of excited about it.
I love NASCAR.
They don't watch sports on TV, except they'll watch West Ham with me sometimes. But other than that, they really don't watch. So I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's have a lads day and let's win. Then it didn't happen. So it just never happened. And they lost interest completely, of course. Anyway, 15 minutes. We got Justin coming on. I think we're all believers here. I think we're all believers that we're getting something out of this match. So we will be on. I will personally be on. I will not be on Wednesday night because I'm going out with some people I haven't seen in a long, long time. A couple guys I haven't seen in literally 20 years. If Tim is watching, I should tell you I'm not going to be on Wednesday night, but somebody will. If not Wednesday, we'll do it Thursday. We can discuss our crushing loss to Manchester City at that time. And then, of course, we'll be back with this show next week on Sunday night to discuss the crushing loss to Liverpool as well. So which I'll be looking forward to that. But anyway, Wayne in Dallas, Luis, Sao Paulo, Selly in Sacramento, and from here in snowy, kind of icy Chelmsford, Mass. Thanks to everybody. Thanks everybody in the chat room for being on. Charlie, especially, who's up in the middle of the night. Tebow, who's up in the middle of the night. Neil, it's like Thursday morning or something in Australia. I never know what time it is.
He already knows the result of the match.
Yeah, Neil already knows the result. Yeah, he just doesn't. He's not spoiling it for us. He already knows who won because it's already Thursday morning in Australia. So, anyway, thanks for guys. Hey, listen, all you guys in the chat room, hang on, okay? Don't go away. We got another show starting in about 15 minutes with somebody from Manchester to talk about
Manchester.
Manchester. I'm not even going to try to do the accent. Anyway, thanks you guys for being on. I really appreciate it. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
I like that.